Hello, Flickering Myth family, and all you Moon Knighters out there. Yep, I think that's what I'm gonna call the Moon Knight fandom. Yes, welcome to our channel. My name is EJ Marino, and we have an episode of TV to talk about. Yes, in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down the biggest talking points about the premiere episode of Moon Knight. In this part of the video, I'm going to give my overall feelings for the premiere episode of Moon Knight. I have seen the first 4 episodes, which you can see my feelings about all of it up here, but in this video, I will just be focusing on the biggest parts of this premiere episode. I wasn't too happy about the rest of the season, but this premiere is super strong. There's a lot to enjoy here. We get some really strong acting. Oh my goodness. Like, Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac really do the damn thing here. They are doing some really fun character work with Oscar Isaac's having to split up the Mark and Steven character, and then Ethan Hawke as the slimy, weird Arthur, just kind of being interesting. Like, he's a character that I really cannot wait to get into way more of. Not even in the episodes I've seen, into the what the hell they're gonna do for the rest of the season. He's really fun, his weird religious cult. We'll talk about all that in a bit. But yeah, overall, I liked this premiere. It really kind of sucked me in. There is some things I don't love. I think the camera work is not my favorite. There's one scene where he's talking to his boss, and there seems to be some weird handheld stuff that I'm like, what are we doing? Just throw that on some sticks and chill out. Like, why are we doing weird camera stuff here, but then the action scenes are kind of flatly directed? Yeah, little moments like that just kind of don't win me over. And there is a creature at the end of this episode that just feels strange, and I kind of joked about it and called it like a Goosebumps villain, but it kind of feels like a Goosebumps villain. Those are the smallest little complaints in this episode, because I do think it sets up our character very well. From the intro scene where he has to, like, unshackle himself out of bed, I'm just like, what are we doing? And it just kept getting weirder and stranger. There's a quirk to this. I don't know if it's because the writer is on this episode and he's not in the other episodes, but I really was into the weirdness of this all. It felt like, I don't know, at times a werewolf story of like the split things. He doesn't know what's happening when the other side takes over. I love stories like that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of atmosphere. Those always really suck me in, and that's what plays off really well here. I liked this episode, and I want to get into more of the nitty-gritty. I want to talk about that really bold opening. I want to talk about that fight scene in the middle, and that oh my god ending. So let's just get into it right now. The episode begins, and we instantly know that this is going to be a very different show. From putting glass into a shoe and walking around and the weird religious overtones, we've never had an opener quite like this in anything Marvel. Not just the Disney shows, but the films. There is a heavier atmosphere instantly here, and it doesn't really lighten up when we cut to our first scene with Steven, who is our Moon Knight character played by Oscar Isaac. He has to like unlatch himself out of bed with the weird foot thing with like tape on the door to make sure he did not leave. It's very common to, I always joke about like werewolf movies or like shows like Buffy, where they have to be like, okay, I want to make sure I did not leave, so here's all these booby traps to double check all that. I love that kind of stuff, and I thought this was a really fun opener. I thought it really let me know the weirdness of Steven's life, and it only gets weirder as we see him traveling to work. We see him talk to that one weird statue dude a little bit. I liked Steven a lot. When we deal with Mark a bit more in the show, not a fan of Mark. He is the most generic character. It's so fun that Oscar Isaacs can play someone who I think is so fun as in Steven, and someone so boring as in Mark, and then they're the same body. It's a weird show. But yeah, we get a little bit of Steven's early life here. He gets to work. He wants to be a tour guide, but it seems like he's a bit of a low-level, like, shop dude, and his boss hates him. This is a scene where he's talking to his boss. There's some really fun little moments here. He also meets up with a girl he sets up a date with, and I'm like, look at Steven's life. He is going to have a good old time. Nothing bad's gonna happen to him. Oh my god, the next scene he's in a different atmosphere with a broken jaw. Like, yeah, I like how this show quickly said, let's get into it. I do think it overall feels a bit rushed, like especially later on in other episodes, but this intro, I'm glad they just said, here, let's get into it. We've seen a little bit of Steven, now let's start seeing Khonshu, let's start seeing a bit of Mark, let's get into the wildness, and when this episode picks up, it does get very wild. Steven wakes up and he's been in a fight, it seems, and he's also in the middle of nowhere. He has no idea where he's at, but it seems like the other half of him had a mission to do. So Steven just tries to kind of figure out what's going on. He's kind of hiding through this town, which it turns out to be Arthur's little commune, his little area. It kind of reminds me of Vatican City in a weird way as well. Yeah, we see a bit of Arthur's cult. We see the weird scale stuff that's going on there. I don't know too much about that, but he seems to be judging people. He seems to be using a higher power to tell people if they're good or if they're bad, and he uses these scales in that way. We'll talk about that more in other episodes. Yeah, it's a weird intro, and we see how weird this cult is. We also see that Arthur's not dumb. He spots out Steven real quick. Like, this is one of the funnier moments that I do laugh when everyone kind of like bows and he's just like, oh shit. Like, it's just an instant getting caught. And that's what's really interesting, because once he gets caught, he's not called out by Steven, he's called out by Marc, and he's just like, what? Like, and Arthur knows instantly who he is. He calls him a mercenary, and he sends his men to attack him. And this does not work. We have a big blackout scene where he does not know what's happening. It seems like someone took over for him. It's really a big battle for the body, basically. And I feel bad for Steven, because he just seems to be lost. Like, he kind of has these blackout moments and has to, like, kind of deal with it. Like, this moment where he's like, I'm covered in blood. I just kicked some ass. I'm gonna steal this, like, ice cream or this cupcake truck and go off on my like escape. And I thought this was a funny scene. I do think this was a good introduction to the weird split personality, the DID aspect of it. I also like that this was one of the few good comedy bits that I enjoyed. I do think there's way too many like pop songs kind of playing, not like Britney Spears pop songs, but like popular music. I definitely think they paid some money for their soundtrack and they used it. It was a bit distracting. Oh yeah, and now we have Marc and Steven basically kind of fighting for the body as they're driving. We have the voice kind of saying, hey, I need you to give Marc the body back. And Steven's just like, God? What is this? What's going on here? Like, who is speaking to me? He's very confused, very flustered, and he thinks this is just all too much. And then he wakes up in his own bed. And was it all a dream? Like, what was all that? Like, he was fighting badasses. He's about to get, like, picked up by a big Egyptian god-looking demon man. But that's not what happens. He wakes up in his house and everything's normal? Or is it? Steven thinks all of that was a dream, but he's missing some days. Like, the date he was supposed to go on, he stood her up, and then she stands him up in return. He's also, like, missing some work stuff. Like, he is in a weird spot. He doesn't know what the hell's going on, but he gets an inkling to go look around his house and seemingly finds a phone and some info and some things that aren't his. Well, it's his body's, but it's not his personalities. Yeah, he finds Marc's stuff and he picks up a call, does some stuff, talks to a mysterious woman who knows who Marc is, who doesn't know who Steven is. Like, he's really confused. Like, it reminds me of that one thing from Euphoria, like, you're confused, I'm confused, bro. And that's how Steven is this whole episode. Yeah, he tries to go about his life. He tries to go have a normal day at work, but Arthur and his crew show up, and it is not easy for him at all. It's really cool to get some of these early interactions with Marc and Steven. Like, I really like Oscar Isaac's just acting off himself. It's really fun, but once he starts to really have good scenes, like the scene he has here with Ethan Hawke, it's really good. Ethan Hawke tries to do that weird scales tattoo thing on him and says, ooh, you got some chaos in ya. I don't know about that, which was a really interesting line. Like, how demented is Steven or Marc or Khonshu, who's kind of the one over all of them, it seems? Who knows? But yeah, I like that Arthur's just like, ooh, I don't like you. Ooh, you're the devil, basically. And he's just like, I'll leave you alone. Or does he? Yes, at the end of this episode, we have just Steven kind of hanging out in the thing. There is that little scarab that has been... Oh, I haven't even mentioned the scarab. There is this bit of a little scarab thing that kind of reminds me of the Mummy movies, but it's this kind of little jewel, and Arthur really wants it, and Khonshu's just like, do not give that up. It is definitely something we need to protect. So Arthur sends some creepy monster after that. Yes, a Egyptian jackal CGI monster comes and attacks Steven. Steven has no idea what to do, but he says, bro, just, I need you, Marc. Like, come on, take over. And Marc actually convinces Steven to let him fully take over, and this is when we get our first big Moon Knight reveal, and we get that cool moment of the suiting up and all that. The suiting up stuff's not really my favorite CG, but this was probably one of the better looks of it. And yeah, he beats the hell out of that demon thing. I love seeing just Moon Knight take over after Steven being so weak and timid at times, and Marc being so gruff and we need to listen, and then the evil voice over everything. Like, bro, what's going on, sassing people? It was really cool to see Moon Knight kind of come in and add a new actiony, badass flair. We got a little bit of action stuff, like with the little van chase scene and stuff in the middle, but this end was the first real bit of like superhero action I've been waiting for. And of course the episode ends right when it gets, oh my god, I need more of this. It ends and I'm just like, give me more. I like it so much. And then we'll talk about episode 2 next week and get into all of that. Alright everyone, that is it for my breakdown of Moon Knight. I have recapped and reviewed this new Disney Plus show, and I like this premiere. It's solid. A lot happens. It really sets up this universe well, but I want to know what your feelings were. Did you have fun with this premiere episode? What was your feelings? Give me your breakdown, your biggest moments. Did I miss a big talking point? Share all your feelings down in the comments below. Make sure you guys give us a thumbs up and give me all of your feelings. Seriously, I want to talk to you Moon Knight fans down below. What did you think of this episode? Did they get the character right? What did you think of the Khonshu voice? I need to know. Subscribe, thumbs up, all that jazz, and let's get into Moon Knight down below.